The use case I'm about to share today is how to transform the text into a visual diagram. The way I usually work with my team is I have a whiteboard and I put the text on it where we go through the text together while brainstorming so that we can all visually see what I'm working with. And then I can work with this text directly from the Miro board. It can also be the text that you added to a certain document, or maybe you're just working with Confluence, Google Sheet. It doesn't really matter. The thing that does matter, though, is how precise and detailed you're going to make your use case. Why? Because any LLM system should have as much context as possible so that it connects the knobs appropriately and then give you the output of what you have really expected. For example, this use case contains primary actors, supporting actors, the trigger, what's going to trigger the system to act in a certain way, happy path, exception flows, as well as post conditions. So I gave it as many details as possible of how buyer and seller are going to interact on the marketplace. And in this way, I'm telling the system to not assume, but just follow a certain scenario. If you give less details, yes, LLM is smart enough to assume that you might have meant something in a certain way, but it doesn't mean that that's really what you wanted from it. That's why the more detailed you are, the better it would be as an outcome. You will not believe how fast it is to create a diagram now. Since I have the prompt ready for the AI model, I just need to select it on the screen, press on the AI icon here or AI icon here. I'd press it here because it's easier for me. Select the diagram I would like it to create. In this case, that's going to be a flow chart. And sorry, I need to collapse this part here and move it a little bit. And then I need to say, is there any certain response we would like to see? Is there does that have to be a decision? Does that have to be processed step by step? Is that somehow an onboarding login? What is that connected with? You can say whether that's going to be an advanced processing, like a very step-by-step instruction, or that's just going to be a basic, very plain, very easy diagram. I'll say that's going to be advanced. My use case is pretty comprehensive. And I'm going to say that I want that to be a decision-making because I have happy path flow as well as exception flows. So I select a decision where it tells me visualize the decision-making process for. And here I need to say that this is a marketplace. That's what I'm going to do. Of course, if you are talking about your own product, it's not just going to be one word for marketplace. You're probably going to describe Shopify marketplace where I sell this and this and this, or where the buyer is this person, seller is this person, yada, yada, and way more information. In this case, I'm just going to say marketplace and press enter. So now you see the system started to generate diagram for me. So let's see how long it's going to take it. You can stop the process, abandon it, maybe add additional information. You can still talk to the system, but while I was talking, you can see how fastly it created a diagram for me. I'd say it's not ideal. Of course, it has some intersections here and you need to correct it a little bit, but can you tell how fast I created a diagram right now out of my use case? For my real cases at work as a product manager, I had way more use cases, like 7 to 10 use cases where all of them were connected and all of them were different exception paths based off of how the user is going to react to this or that event happening on the platform. And it really helped me create a very comprehensive, very detailed diagram. Yes, I did have to modify that, but can you believe it's already here? I think we need to overview how precise this diagram is, and should I actually rely on it, or I'll have to redo 90%. Let's see. At first, let's review my use case so that we can identify whether the diagram was fine or not. So the use case tells that there's a seller who provides the item, there's a Salesforce, there's a CRM system to hold account data, support validation, and a marketplace system. And there's also a primary actor who's a buyer. He initiates, or she or them, the purchase, and there's a trigger. So buyer selects an active item attached to a shop and initiates a purchase. The main flow would be that the buyer logs into the marketplace, buyer searches for and selects an active item, system validates that the item exists in the system, the sales status is active, seller and buyer account both exist in Salesforce, buyer proceeds to checkout, system records records the sale transaction, system confirms the transaction, updating the transaction details, buyer receives confirmation, seller receives notification of sale. Let's see if it's even here. So it tells me that the buyer logs in. Exactly, that's what we start with. Wait, before I actually can work with this, I need to confirm. So yes, confirmed. So buyer logs in the system, buyer would search and select for an item. Does the item exist as active? Yes. The seller account exists. Yes. Buyer account exists. yes. There's also a no. All the time I say yes. Buyer proceeds to checkout, then payment. This is the process payment. This is where it's a little bit tricky. I would have changed it maybe. Is the payment successful? Yes or no? Record sale transaction, update Salesforce, date account, send confirmation to buyer, to seller, transaction complete. And for other, it's pretty cool. It's like 99% accurate according to my use case. It was pretty easy use case, but let's say that there's a system that has a more sophisticated use case. Maybe drop it down into smaller chunks of use cases so that it's easier for the system to identify what's going on. But I love it. I personally love it. It helped me with a very, very difficult use case as well. And I really didn't have to spend that much time of creating everything from scratch. That's why I personally am in love with AI and generative AI specifically. So thank you, Miro AI, for this opportunity. I hope this was useful for you guys, and I hope you are going to use it in your further work. If you guys are using Miro AI, share your use cases as well. I would be happy to hear how you use Miro nowadays.